All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Hopefully we have a few more folks popping in as we're doing some introductions. I'm going to go ahead and present the screen here. But we're so excited to just share this webinar with all of you, how to make your giving day a success. So we have a panel of current ThankView partners sharing with us today. So I'll begin with a few questions, but of course we'll have plenty of time for Q&A. This is really about getting your questions answered and just leaning into the wisdom of these current partners who have had very successful giving days as of recent. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, panelists, for participating and giving of your time. Just very grateful to partner with you all. If you have questions throughout our time, throw them in the chat box, and we'll make sure that we get to them, or just write them down. And then once we're ready for Q&A, you can throw them in the chat box then. But just very excited to be sharing this with you all. We have a few other ThankView team members floating around as an attendee as well. So thank you guys for being here as well. But we'll start off. I'll introduce myself. I'm Katie. I am a customer success manager here at ThankView, and today actually marks my 6-month anniversary with the company. So that's very exciting. Hard to believe that it's been 6 months, but I'm grateful to be here. Have definitely learned so many new things. My first position after graduating from college was actually at my alma mater, and I was their annual giving coordinator. I supervised and developed their phone-a-thon program, donor stewardship, senior class gift, and was the main user of ThankView. So I've been on your side of the ThankView experience. That's really served me well this past year, the past few months. And it's really awesome to be on the other side of it now, being able to share how awesome I think ThankView is with you. So that's a little bit about me. I'm definitely still a newer member of the team, but loving it, learning so much. Love working with all of you. I'm sure I have some of my own clients here today, so grateful to just share, the wisdom of our panelists with you today. So let's introduce the panelists. We have Emily Gamble. She is the Assistant Director of Annual Giving, Student Philanthropy, and Young Alumni Giving at the University of Dayton, or UD as we'll refer to it just to keep things simpler. But Emily and I we're practically neighbors. So I'm a remote employee that works 30 minutes northeast of University of Dayton. So that's a fun little connection that we have. But she's responsible for creating a student philanthropy program that serves to educate current UD students about the impact of philanthropy and how that impacts their student experience. She also encourages participation in the act of giving. She's responsible for creating new strategies for young alumni giving. She earned her bachelor's degree in marketing from the University of Dayton in 2014. And prior to her return to UD, she was employed by the Alzheimer's Association and Nastable Enterprises. So a wealth and variety of knowledge there. Her picture actually is from their first giving day, which we will definitely talk about today. So thanks so much for being here, Emily.
Thanks for having me.
Next we have Subia Ahmad. She specializes in donor relations and communications. She enjoys cultivating relationships through effective stewardship touches. Currently, she serves as the Stewardship Program Manager at Children's Medical Center Foundation in Dallas, which serves the leading pediatric health system in North Texas. Subia previously served as Stewardship Officer for the Lucille Packard Foundation for Children's Health and Stanford Children's. She also served in development, donor relations, and events for the Louisiana State University Health Sciences Center in Shreveport. Subia has a dual bachelor's in political science and international studies from the University of California, Irvine, and is a member of the Association of Donor Relations Professions and the Association of Fundraising Professionals. Thanks so much for being here.
I'm excited. Thank you.
And then lastly, we have Harmony Farrow. She joined the Office of Loyalty Giving at TCU in 2010 as the Director of Student and Young Alumni Programs. In her current role, she oversees phone-a-thon, student and young alumni philanthropy, digital philanthropy, stewardship efforts, and data analytics. While at Texas Christian University, Harmony developed and implemented the university's student philanthropy program, a Case Gold winner and for both annual giving programs and best practices in fundraising, online day of giving, TCU Gives Day, and crowdfunding platform Frog Funding. So we have quite the panel today. Thanks so much, Harmony, for joining us as well.
Thank you for having me.
But yeah, this is just such a great panel. It's been awesome for me to speak with the three of you, get to know you and your histories, not only in your fields, but just in just hearing you talk about what you're so excited about doing and serving at your different organizations. For those of you in attendance today, their contact information will be available. I will be sending out this slideshow to you all and the recording of this webinar afterwards. So if you missed something or just want to reach out to any of the panelists, you will have that information accessible to you at the end of our time together today. So now I guess it's time to just dive right in. So basically how this will work, I have a series of questions to ask that we here at ThankView compiled, and one, two, all of you can answer any questions, but we just really want to get your insight and hear your thoughts on really how to make Giving Day successful in all spheres, nonprofit, healthcare, university, K through 12. Definitely speak to your experience there. So we'll start off. First question. Give us a brief history of your organization's Giving Day. So Emily, why don't you kick us off since you're listed first, but we'll have you kick us off today.
Great, well, thank you. So One Day One Dayton is the name of our Giving Day here at the University of Dayton. And last year was the first year that we hosted a Giving Day on campus. It was a 24-hour effort, so 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. It took place in early April. We felt like that was a good time of year for us based on academic calendar breaks, things like that. And, our focus was to basically say to our entire campus community, our flyer family, as we call them, that gifts to any fund of any size, they make a difference. So we were striving for participation versus dollars. So we had a goal of hitting 1,850 donors in honor of our founding. So that was our huge focus. We had lots of partners from across our academic units and otherwise on campus, and we felt like that was something that was really important to us, is really making One Day One Dayton feel like a full community effort, something that could be felt even in the cities that our alumni live in. So it was really just anybody and everybody who has a love for the university come together, celebrate One Day One Dayton with us.
Awesome. Yeah, I love hearing about One Day One Dayton. And as you all will hear later, they've had some great success with that particular Giving Day. So really excited to talk more about that. Subia, do you want to go next?
Sure. So Children's Health is one of the largest pediatric healthcare providers in North Texas. And we've really leaned into North Texas Giving Day, which is our regional community-wide giving day that all nonprofits across the area participate in. But we also really focused in on Giving Tuesday this year. So for North Texas Giving Day, that's our main sort of community-wide fundraising effort. And we had a goal of raising $1 million, which included a large match from some of our community members. And then in terms of number of donors, we focused on trying to get 1,000 new donors in. For Giving Tuesday, it was a little bit of a smaller effort, but we wanted to raise $100,000, and we were able to secure a community match of $50,000. And then we're hoping to, break through 250 donors. So it was a little bit of a smaller effort, but we really wanted to open it up to the community and families of patients that might be coming through our hospital system in some point or another, and allow them to be able to join in a larger effort. So I think what I'll do today is sort of talk about Giving Tuesday, because we really wanted to focus in on increasing our communications and stewardship touch points around that. But looking forward to sharing more about that as we discuss.
Yeah, awesome. And that is a great point, is that obviously we all know Giving Tuesday is basically a national holiday at this point. So a lot of these principles that we're going to talk about today are applicable to both Giving Tuesday in November, December, but also organizations' individual giving days. So we do a separate webinar on Giving Tuesday often. However, I think this is a great platform to discuss how, especially if that's where a lot of your focus is, definitely love to have your insight on that. So that's a great point. And then lastly, Harmony, brief history of your Giving Day.
Sure. So here at TCU, we have what we call TCU Gives Day, and it is very similar to One Day, One Dayton. We are focused primarily on participation here and bringing in a certain number of donors each year. We hold ours in November. TCU is, we are fortunate that we are very strong in a number of different athletic areas, but certainly the spirit of TCU is most heavily felt during football season. So for us, it makes the most sense to have our Giving Day in November. And we hold it early in November to get out ahead of Giving Tuesday and the large season of giving that sort of comes at the end of the year, so that we don't get lost in the shuffle. And this past November, we held our 6th TCU Gives Day. We have come a very long way from our first TCU Gives Day, which I ran almost entirely on my own and was very, very small. This year, our entire loyalty giving staff of 9, all of our school and college gift officers, our entire donor relations team, our entire university central marketing and communications team, and our advancement operations team worked together, along with 20 advancement staff volunteers and 92 student volunteers, to pull off our Gives Day. So it's grown quite a bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just absolutely love when I was talking with you, just learning more about TCU Gives Day and everything that has become over time. So thanks so much for sharing that. The next question, how did you incorporate ThankView into your overall pre and post Giving Day strategy? So who'd like to tackle this one first?
This is Emily. I can share a little bit about it from UD's perspective.
Perfect, yeah.
So for us, using ThankView was something that was really important to us. Once we saw the platform, we were really excited to use it. So what we decided we would do was use it as a largely day of on our Giving Day sort of effort. We used it strictly for stewardship. We did not use it for solicitation purposes. In an effort to prepare for our Giving Day and to prepare for using the ThankView platform, we basically set up a list of staff and student volunteers to manage the program on the day. And so each of those people would have different roles. They would either act as sort of what we branded a recorder, and those would be the people that would be filming the video, typically from an iPhone or, a mobile device. And they were, helping us just to make sure that those videos were accurate in the personalization, things like that. Then we also had what we called the hosts, and those were our student volunteers who were doing the thanking on camera. And then we had our reviewers, who were some of our staff from advancement, and those individuals would go in and they would review each video that we sent out, just to make sure that we had the name right, the donation, we were listing the proper fund, things like that. We did a training for each specific role prior to the actual day of, and then we also made sure that any training documents, so steps for how to film, how to record, how to review, all of those different things were accessible offline to our volunteers for the day of if they needed them. And then post Giving Day, we had so many videos come out because we didn't our strategy was kind of not fully fleshed out to be fitting for how successful our giving day was, which I'm sure I'll talk about later. But we had to keep reviewing our videos into the days following One Day, One Dayton last year. And then we did send some additional videos that we had students from our office do as well. So like I said, strictly stewardship, not solicitation.
Awesome. Yeah. And remind me, what was your particular reason for stewardship only?
For us,
case?
we did a lot of soliciting prior to giving day. We did, we still do a lot of direct mail here at UD. And so we had a faculty staff solicitation. We had other segments, that we were sending direct mail to. And we also really wanted to focus on the day of making sure that, a lot of what was happening live and was happening on our platform for giving. We use another external vendor for that. So making sure that gifts were going to that and were happening in a very organic way, doing solicitation via that direct mail. We also do some calling through a telefund program. And then we were doing a lot on social media and email on the day of. So we really wanted ThankView to be that piece to say, hey, we saw that you made a gift. We're so thankful, and kind of be that way for those who couldn't be on campus during the day to celebrate with us. It was a way for them to feel connected because they got to see an actual student in their One Day, One Dayton attire on campus in the moment. So it really just kind of helped bring about those warm feelings of campus, particularly for our alumni, but other donors as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great point. Anyone else want to tackle this question, or shall we proceed?
This is Subia. I'd love to jump in real quick.
Yeah, please do.
Well, so for us, we've also really leaned on ThankView as a stewardship only communication point. And we're finding that as we're just using it for stewardship, we're getting better open rates. And I think what's working for us is that we're using patients of all ages and all backgrounds, and we're giving them an opportunity to sort of film their videos themselves on their cell phones, or their families are helping them. And we have seen that people are really connecting with that, and that it just feels so organic and genuine coming in the like the really creative and fun and engaging platform that ThankView offers. Mm-hmm. So we've really made a clear effort to use ThankView just for stewardship and not use it for any other communication points.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I will do a shameless plug for Children's while I'm here. So for those of you that may not have known, we did our annual ThankView Awards, where our partners submitted videos for us to vote on and just celebrate, kind of like an Oscar, Golden Globes kind of concept. And Children's actually was one of the finalists, and it was a very, very close race with one of their precious videos. So definitely supports what you're saying about just how well it's being received and how much people are connecting. So that's awesome. We'll proceed and go to the next question here. What were your Giving Day goals, and did you achieve them? I'd love for all three of you to address this, if possible. Harmony, do you want to go first?
Sure. This year, our goal was to bring in 2,500 gifts, and we received 2,949 gifts, totaling $2.8 million.
Amazing. Amazing, amazing.
It's Subia. So as I mentioned earlier, for our 2 Giving Day efforts that we did this past year, the first one was North Texas Giving Day, which is the regional one. We had a goal of $1 million and 1,000 donors, and we did reach those goals. And then for Giving Tuesday, we had the goal of 100,000 and 250 donors, and we did blow right past that as well. So we're very excited.
That's awesome. Congratulations. And then Emily.
Yeah, so for One Day, One Dayton last year, like I said, our goal was strictly participation based. So we set the goal at 1,850 donors in honor of the year of our founding. we actually surpassed that before lunchtime, I believe, which was very exciting for all of us. We were kind of shell-shocked, if you will.
For sure.
But by the end of the 24-hour giving day period, we had reached 5,638 donors and raised over $866,000.
What a way to kick off an annual giving day. I mean, you might as well stop now while you're ahead, you know?
It feels a little bit like that right now as we
Right.
plan for year two.
Right. Oh, for sure. I understand. So now that we have, you know, the foundation of, okay, we have some really successful giving days that utilized ThankView. Obviously, they're connected in some capacity, right? But how did your recipients respond to the ThankViews you sent? So we're going less for the data here necessarily, and in this question, I'm looking more for the relational aspect, that element of how they connected with the ThankViews that you sent.
So this is Harmony at TCU, and I will say I didn't touch on how we use ThankView for our Gives Day, but it's very similar in that we utilize our student volunteers to film personalized ThankView videos. And Emily, we're in year 2 of doing this, and I will say we learned a lot from year 1 and put a lot more infrastructure in place for this process in year 2, and we were able to get the videos out within 1 to 2 hours of people making their gifts. So I have no doubt that it'll be even smoother for you this coming year. But one of the things that I have loved seeing are the responses that we get back from our donors. Not only are they surprised and delighted if they have never received a ThankView from us previously, but oftentimes when they respond, they're responding directly to the student who recorded the ThankView, which I just think is incredibly touching and shows how relational a tool ThankView is. It really makes them feel like they are connecting with the individual who said thank you.
That's awesome. Yeah, that I remember as a user when I sent my first batch of ThankViews, there was a birthday campaign and I received a handful of replies that were just like, oh my word, this is incredible. And that's just such a good feeling. So definitely encouraging. What about Emily and Suvia? Any comments on the responses that you've received?
This is Emily. For us, it was much of the same as what Harmony sort of shared and when she answered the question. One of the things that I think was one of my favorite pieces of the day was we had a lot of graduating seniors who sort of used One Day, One Dayton as an opportunity for them to step up and volunteer and start to think about the formation of their lifelong relationship with the institution. And so that was sort of how they kind of came into the giving day sort of group thing, helped us plan, etc. And so one of those students, she was really nervous to do ThankViews, and when we were reviewing hers, they were some of the best ones that we saw. And she actually got a very, very sweet note from an alumni couple. They were wed to wed, so they graduated the same year, were married to one another. They're part of our Golden Flyers, which is our alumni group who they're 50 years out or more from their graduation date. And they sent this student, it was a really sweet message, recognizing that she stated she was a graduating senior and said, oh, congratulations and best wishes. Know that your Flyer family will always be there for you. And being able to forward that message on to her was really powerful. And she sent me a message and was like, I'm crying in my dorm room. This is so great. So the emotional pull there was very real. And it's just so sweet to see that, because we know that our alumni are loyal. But just to see that in action, especially between two vastly different generations, was really impactful.
That's awesome. Wow.
Katie, this is Subia at Children's Health. I wanted to mention that we owe a huge thanks to Harmony, because she was actually the person who referred us to ThankView.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah. So I wanted to add that we have been really intentional also about how many communications are going out in the particular giving day. And so as we're using other digital and social tools to further our appeals, and then holding our ThankView for stewardship only, we've actually been intentional about sending it the following morning. So after Giving Day is over, we've been able to prepare, have our patients prepare their videos on the day of or just ahead of time. Excuse me, just ahead of time, so that we can have them all teed up and ready to go the morning after. And what's really amazing is that these patients are able to, because they're kind of in, they have a moment to themselves and they can kind of think about how their relationship has grown with children's health and how they're now being a champion for other patients within the hospital system. They're able to speak from their heart. So the video that you mentioned that was nominated was a finalist for the ThankView of the Year. With a patient who shared her mental health story. She actually visits our eating disorders clinic. And so she wanted to make a video in the privacy of her home and really talk about what it meant to her to have donors support kids like her at Children's Health on these giving days, and to be able to get them back to being kids in their homes with their families, with their friends and loved ones. And so we had lots and lots of really heartfelt, responsive messages. And as folks see this patient walk through at the clinics, now she's really well known and people get really excited to see her and feel very connected to her because of that ThankView video.
Wow, that's awesome. And it truly was a beautiful video. As part of the follow-up email I'll be sending, I'll include a couple of our favorite videos, Giving Day videos, and especially ones from our panelists. So you'll be able to see exactly what we're talking about. Okay, so now we're getting into kind of some of the deeper elements of Giving Day and what it takes to really pull this off well. So what is one lesson, if each of you can share, one lesson that you learned during your most recent Giving Day?
This is Harmony. I will share what we learned, and I really have two big takeaways from last year, so forgive me, but I'm going to share both.
No, you're good.
The first one was that we have always done TCU Gives Day as a day from midnight to midnight, and this year we decided to change that up, and we did noon to noon. And I swear it wasn't just because I wanted more sleep. It was, we were encouraged to do that by a couple of other institutions who had moved to that model, notably, most notably the University of Texas. And we found that it worked out extremely well because we had the most traffic and most giving at the kickoff of the day and the conclusion of the 24 hours, which we had traditionally done when people were sleeping. Mm-hmm. And there was just a lot of excitement at the start and the end at those two noon times. And I got to sleep, which was wonderful.
Of course.
So I highly recommend trying noon to noon if you have never done that before. And the other thing that we learned this past year was really the importance of empowering our partners across the institution. We put together a really impressive, my marketing coordinator, I should say, not me, my marketing coordinator on my team put together an incredibly impressive package of digital and print content for all of our schools and colleges to utilize on their own. And then we encouraged them to spend the day with us in our command center, and we fed them well, and we were there with them, and they were tracking along with us the entire day on their own individual goals for their schools and colleges, and then for TCU as a whole as well, and just really providing them with all of the tools that they needed to take ownership in the day and really run with it. It was the first time that we had achieved that so well, and that was incredibly powerful for us to have more voices amplifying that.
Awesome. Yeah, there's so much power in getting an entire campus, an entire organization united around this one goal. So that's an awesome takeaway. What about Emily and Subia? Any comments?
This is Emily. I'll relate mine specifically to ThankView. With us, we had anticipated, of course, bringing in a few donors, on our first ever giving day, but we did not anticipate achieving our goal, A, as early as we did in the day, and then B, hitting it and then exceeding it by quite a few thousand. For us, one of the things that we did with ThankView was we kind of had a random, I wouldn't say like a fully random selection process, but effectively we were selecting our donors that we were sending thank yous to at random. And so for us, like, that was fine at first because it was manageable, but then once we started to hit like 3,000 plus donors, that got a little shaky and kind of felt like we needed a contingency plan. So for this year, I actually have a colleague of mine who I hope is listening in from another room. She's going to be taking over the efforts this year. But we're going to do some pre-recording. We're going to do some more customization in the text of our ThankView videos and, focus more on those efforts so that we can get more of those videos out, but do it in a more purposeful way. So using that personalization in the video of like, hi, Bob, thanks for your gift, to da-da-da-da, we'll probably save that for donors who give above a certain amount this year, just to make sure that we're really being purposeful about using it, but we're also making an impact on the donors that have, given us something that day.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure. That's a great takeaway there. And that's something that I did at my alma mater as well, is figuring out how to maximize impact while being efficient with time. And those kinds of questions are all ones we have to ask. So great points there. Subia, any comments on this?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I wanted to just add on that we also, specifically related to ThankView, have been thinking more about what our next call to action would be for donors. So while we're using ThankView and the video and the messaging to really steward our donors and supporters, we are including a button, that option button that we've got, to direct them to some other engagement point. And so we thought ahead to like, what was an upcoming event, or was there an educational opportunity, something that was free and open to the public, but that we could at least help to use this ThankView to guide them now to continue engaging with us. And so we did that, and that turned out really well for us this past December, because Giving Tuesday, obviously, we had some holiday events going on where folks could come out and celebrate at the hospitals. And so it was just the perfect, call to action and the next point of contact for these donors.
Awesome. Well, let's proceed. Oh, that is the end. I thought for sure I had another question. Not thanks for coming. You're good. Thank you guys for answering our questions. I feel like I just am so intimately familiar with each of your giving days and just feel like crashing them, quite frankly. They just sound like so much fun to be a part of and participate in. But now it's time to address questions from our attendees. There were a few popping in there while we were talking. So I do want to address this first one from Akina. What is the limitation that a school or department has per day to send through ThankView? And this is more of a question to me. So Akina, typically we cap it at 10,000 sends per day. That protects our email reputation and also allows, maximizes the amount of delivered emails that do happen. So when you're sending emails in mass quantities like that, it just becomes that much more difficult for servers to handle. So we do cap it at 10,000. And then Leslie had a great question. For those who have used ThankView for solicitations, would you say that it hurt open rates for your stewardship campaigns that came after? Does anyone have any particular insight?
So I can share on that. While we do not use ThankView for solicitations for TCU Gives Day, because of what Katie was just talking about, our TCU Gives Day, we send out to our entire solicitable email base, which is 96,000. So but we do utilize ThankView for other solicitations for smaller groups. And I will say it has not hurt our stewardship efforts at all. And because I would say it actually helps our open rates for our solicitations, because they are accustomed to seeing these emails from ThankView and getting them from ThankView. And we have very high open rates. Our stewardship open rates for ThankView hover around 80% for TCU. And so I think what we actually see when we do solicitation efforts through ThankView is that our open rates are actually higher than when we send them through our standard email server.
That's awesome. Any other comments on that before I address the next question? All right. So the next question from Akina. So for a smaller giving day, a less hyped up giving day, how can we encourage deans and departments and department heads to participate and help for giving day? Is there anything you did to help motivate them to participate? That is a great question, and I feel like that is a consistent point of contention in advancement offices and donor relations staff is how do we get buy-in from everyone? So can any of you address that?
This is Emily. For our giving day last year and again this year, we have done some outreach via university leadership. So we have like a president's council, president's cabinet that meets regularly. And so with our VP from advancement, the communication kind of goes from high up down, and those in the cabinet or council work to identify from their individual departments someone that can act as sort of a giving rep, as we like to call them here, for that department or area of campus. So our deans have all elected a member of staff from their academic area, so School of Engineering, School of Business, etc. Student development, all of the different offices on campus. Even for us, we're a Catholic institution, so our mission and rector office has reps that they sort of have implemented with us as well. And so those individuals are really meant to be the drivers for all Giving Day related communication prior to and even on Giving Day, so that we're getting buy-in not just from that top level just our leadership, but really from the entire institution. And for us, that model has worked really well. Granted, we've had 1 year under our belt, but just an example, last year these reps passed out solicitations. We gave them t-shirts and posters to pass out to those that they work closely with to just really get people excited, since it was year one. And what we did see was basically our faculty staff giving for the year doubled. We went from I think like about and don't quote me on these numbers, but like somewhere in the realm of like 15% faculty staff giving across our university, and that became like I think like 32% at the end of the year. And so I think having those folks sort of be the relationship builders for university advancement, they were regularly meeting with our staff, they were getting sneak peeks, getting early information about one day, one date, and I think that really helped to solidify those relationships on campus. Because the other challenge that university advancement has here at UD is that our office is kind of seen as being off campus because we are not right where the students and all of the academic buildings are. We're a couple of streets and blocks over. So having that opportunity to meet with a smaller group of faculty and staff to help drive that was really crucial. And I think it's why we saw such an upswing in the number of donors that day.
That's awesome. Wow. To see fac staff giving practically double is truly rare, and just very much a testament to how you're really seeking to develop a culture of giving on UD's campus. So that's awesome. Any other questions from our attendees before I give a few others to our panelists? Well, while everyone's typing, let's tackle a broader ThankView question here. I get a lot of questions from clients asking about specific gear and video production. So do any of you have any recommendations of maybe how you prefer to produce your videos? Are there any specific recording items that you have purchased as a department, like external microphones, cameras, editing software, things like that, that maybe just give your ThankViews the look and feel that is appealing to your donors?
So this is Subia at Children's Health.
Subi.
So like I mentioned earlier, we've really relied on using smartphones and computers to record our ThankViews, just so that it really feels organic and gives our subjects a chance to, feel comfortable and do a couple takes if they need to. And we definitely are leaning towards looking at improving sound quality, especially if we're outdoors or in the hospital. We've got long hallways and the sound is not always the best on our cameras. So I too am interested to see if anybody uses any particular microphones or any of that kind of equipment.
This is Harmony at TCU, and I just want to echo what Subia said. We tend to use almost exclusively mobile devices, iPads and iPhones, because it lends an authenticity to our videos. I think when we do things that are highly produced, it tends to take away from the connection that we can create to really bring a student or a faculty member into the space with a prospective donor or a donor to say thank you. So we really just, there is very, very little production quality to ours. And maybe that's not the answer that people are looking for, but for us, it really just makes it feel a lot more authentic and helps to establish a connection.
That's awesome. Oh, go ahead, Emily.
Sorry. So I wanted to add in, I wholeheartedly agree with what Harmony was saying. For us as well, we have relied largely on smartphone devices, again, because of the authenticity and then sort of the organic nature that they kind of provide when we are sending these videos out. In terms of other things that we use to make our videos what they are, I will say for Giving Day, we created some branded 1D, one day, one Dayton, or like little Ds that have the one in them, kind of like you saw in my picture from the beginning. We had a lot of those signs created so that our students, when they were filming the videos, had something that they could hold on to, because as a student, you get nervous doing these sorts of things, and we didn't want them to be playing with their hair or moving their hands around too much. So for us, having some sort of prop that they could also hold that was branded to the event, I think that was helpful. And then the other thing that I'll say is we at UD have a very unique housing situation for our upperclassmen. They actually are able to live on houses that the university owns. And so one of the things that we did was, because those houses and the porches on those homes have such a nostalgic feel to them for virtually the majority of our alumni, we made a list of different places that our hosts could go and film for the day. So we recommended, going over by our chapel, which is famous for its blue dome, going to houses and sitting on a porch because it was a sunny day, and that ties in really well with the nostalgia piece. And we got a lot of comments and feedback from alumni about that viewpoint from the porch. Things like that also were really helpful. And then we also, aside from Giving Day, have started using ThankView to do first-time donor stewardship. So we're sending, I think on a monthly basis, our donor relations team is sending out these different videos that do also come from students. And within those, each student is in some sort of space on campus that is notable. So like we have a library over by our gazebo. We've used that, again, the chapel, etc. And kind of using those places to also be an added element for filming has helped. Again, the sound quality can be an issue, especially when our chapel bells are ringing. but we know when those are coming, so we kind of work around that. We've also tried with those videos to do them seasonally. So that our donors that we're sending these stewardship pieces to, they're seeing campus at different times of year. And they're seeing it when it's snowy or when it's really warm and sunny and our students are out wearing like their UD t-shirts and shorts, just to kind of add a little bit more of a scene or like a stage for the videos to kind of give them a little bit of fluff.
Oh my goodness, I was muted. Goodness gracious, thank you so much. So what I was saying was this is our last call for questions, but while attendees are typing their final questions, panelists, if you have any last minute words of wisdom to share with us, something that you didn't get to say based on the questions that were asked, we would love to hear any final comments that you have. And Maria has just put in the chat a link to the lapel mic that they utilize, which is awesome. All right. Well, I have one final comment from one of our panelists who actually was unable to be with us today, but one of her biggest pieces of encouragement was that we should be giving our faculty, staff, and students the opportunity to thank donors rather than forcing them to. So rather than just telling everyone, hey, you need to do this, you need to share your thanks and share your gratitude, just presenting opportunities like giving days, being present on campus and things like that is really a great way to encourage deans and departments and everyone across your institution to participate. It's cultivating a culture of gratitude among your institution and organization, which is huge. And then a final component that our former panelists from STEP Denver wanted to suggest is they had a ton of different outtakes and just, funny videos that they had taken as they were forming their actual thank yous that they were sending. They compiled all of these outtakes and created a blooper reel of sorts and sent that out to a certain list of donors and had a ton of positive feedback because it showed a more fun, creative, personal, natural side of the organization. And I thought that to be super clever, especially when I think there's a culture in higher ed and healthcare where we, if we're not careful, can come across as stuffy or just too put together. So I think capturing videos on iPhones and stripping them down more is great, but then also compiling outtakes and bloopers and just getting silly with your staff. One thing we did at Cedarville, the school I used to work for, when the Baby Shark song came out, we found a remix of it and recorded our entire office dancing to this remix. And we threw it, had it available to send to some different recipients just as a way of showing like, hey, we're the faces behind all the communication you receive. We're having fun. We are a community as well. So I thought those 2 points were really important. Didn't want to miss those just because she wasn't here. But grateful for her insight as well. Emily, Harmony, and Suvia, thank you so much for joining us today. You had such great comments. I will be sending a follow-up email with the link to this recording, the slides, and our panelists' contact information. So all of you who came, thank you so much. Thank you for your questions and your attention. If you have questions, do not hesitate to reach out to your success manager. We are all super dedicated to helping you maximize your use of the platform and just really helping you be successful using ThankView. So thank you all so much. I'll hang around in the room for a few more minutes if there's any other questions, but that wraps up our webinar today. So thank you all so much for coming.